Well, welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Hunting Beast Podcast. We're gonna try something a little different here. We're gonna do a video about all these guys' deer drive experience, and we want to tell some fun stories, and along the way share some tactics. Maybe find out why these guys got involved with this crazy activity. My first invitation to these deer drives is when I met Dan. Typically, like when I was growing up, we did deer drives in woodlots, CRP fields.
Yeah, this ain't no woodlot.
Yeah, never in marshes like this. And as Dan invites you to most things, I think he started out with several stories about guys falling into the pond and soaking their feet, falling through ice. Guys would do the deer drive once and then never return, and then he said, hey, so this sounds like something fun, right? You want to do it. But part of the reason why I got involved, I mean, it is a good group of guys, and it's fun. You challenge yourself physically, and they do get on some big deer. So.
You're wet down there? I had to swim to this tree.
What'd you shoot?
I shot a doe. There should be blood down here someplace. Right over there is where I shot.
Good luck.
I got the spot marked if you get to it. You ran through on a trail right there. Right about there's where I shot.
Where? Here?
Right in front of you someplace. Right over like there.
There's my guy.
What?
Yeah, there's a deer right there.
I could not see it at all until it stepped there. I could see the cattails moving. That is the first spot I could see it. Can you believe that?
It's nasty. That whole thing's underwater.
Yeah, I couldn't even see that deer till it was right there.
I jumped those lone trees way out there.
Mhm.
Deer running out of them. They went out into the deep.
Mm. Yeah, I couldn't. That's the only one I saw or heard.
Yeah, I heard a couple. It wasn't a one deer. It wasn't.
Okay.
Fast exit just off those lone trees.
But I remember the first time we went, it was the 8-mile initiation. Welcome to the group drive.
That's how you find out if you guys got what it takes.
By the way, carry this 10-foot step ladder for 8 miles. Keep up.
Why don't we talk about sort of the inception of the overall philosophy of why someone would want to do deer drives in areas like this on public land? And more so, I mean, you've told me this, the pattern of how other hunters during the deer season hunt those areas, and why hunting in this way and doing these drives equals success.
You know, when you go sit in a stand, you're hunting one bed area. You get one opportunity. You know, and those big bucks aren't moving around during the gun season. And when those guns start firing, they lock in. You got to be right on top of them, on top of a bedding area. And all we're doing with the drives is we're hunting a different bedding area every 15, 20 minutes, you know, or every hour. And it really puts the deer in front of you. It really gives you some opportunities. And that doesn't mean we don't hunt stands, but everybody else sets up deer drives and goes out and hunts woodlots. They surround a woodlot, do a push or whatever. And the only thing that comes out is fawns or little ones, and every once in a blue moon they get a chance at a nice buck. Well, we're going into the wet, nasty areas where nobody goes, where those big bucks are, and pushing them around. I think we push a lot more than what we actually see, but some of them are set up better than others, and it's just a fun time.
Yeah.
And you know, too, you know, a lot of people watching this are probably bow hunters, and they're probably like, this doesn't interest me. I gun hunt, but not that heavy, you know. But really, this is making me a better bow hunter. It's probably making every one of you that bow hunts a better bow hunter, because you go in there and you see how they bed and you see how they come out of that stuff. You really learn a lot in there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one good point to that, if you're going to take this in like a drive into a bow hunting tactic, what we do is, if we have, say, 3 posters, 3 of us are doing that, we only have like 2 or 3 other guys that are just slowly walking through or nudging, And sometimes we're not even nudging, you're just using your scent to blow in an area, so you're not being super invasive or aggressive with it. So I mean, a bow hunter, you could easily do this and have a guy on stand with a bow if he wants to do it that way. He doesn't have to necessarily use a firearm.
Well, I found some of
to
my
do
best
this.
bow hunting spots doing these
Yeah.
gun drives, you know, because we'll go try something new. I think every year we try another new little pocket, and all of a sudden, you know, something big comes running out of there, you go in there, you see these beds and stuff, and now you're seeing it fresh right after rut, you know, when gun season is. And you're learning the area and going, aha, and then next year bow season, you go in there and bow hunt it.
Take advantage of what you just saw the year before.
You know, and this really, for me, I mean, it kind of morphed. I used to be a real loner, you know, when I deer hunt, and I started my gun hunting and killed some of my very biggest bucks by figuring out bedding areas and sneaking into them on a crosswind and shooting the bucks while they're bedded or right when they jumped up. And all we've done from that is most of those deer would get away from me as we started working with a team of trusted guys
Yep.
where we'd surround it, you know, with guys you really want to succeed. And I mean, if you're real greedy and you got to be the one that kills the buck, this probably ain't the way to do it. I mean, you got to be willing to share. But you know, and that leads into another thing. You really got to trust the guys you're with, because we're hunting public land, and if any of these guys tell somebody where we're at, or you know, if you take somebody from town who's not as trustworthy or something, and
Yeah.
you know, you can lose your spots because they'll go and try and beat you to them.
Yeah.
Plus being safe, you know, these
Right.
you know, we're in cattails that are, you know, 6.5, 7 feet
Yeah.
tall.
Safety.
You gotta make sure that your guys know where you are and,
Yeah.
and where the stander is and where they know you are, you know, vice versa, and make sure that, you know, the guys know and are safe, and it works out really well.
Absolutely, you got to be able to trust your people you're with. You know. In the last few years, we've actually started at the crack of dawn. We don't even get in the stand in the morning. But the way we rotate through the spots we're hitting first are the spots where we want to get to first before anybody else gets in there. And the spots we get to later, we want to get to after the guys push the stuff around it, walk through everything and put the deer in there. So there's a system to it. And some of the spots that are kind of exposed to the road or exposed to ridges where all the hunters can see you, where we do well, it's nice to get out there more midday when everybody else has left the woods.
As well, the philosophy behind it is that a lot of the hunters on public land, they're gonna go and they're gonna push those fringes. They're gonna push the fringes into the woodlots, not into the thick and nasty, and they're gonna bump deer in the morning. And then it's, depending on the weather, if it's cold and rainy, which sometimes many of these days have been recently, they're gonna get out of their stand. And a lot of hunters, their camaraderie, they're gonna go down to the local bar, tavern, and they're gonna get out of the woods. And when they do that, they've moved all the deer into these bedding areas. And then I think, you know, how it was explained to me, you guys come along and you start accessing these bedding areas strategically to bump the deer out of there. And, you know, could be areas where people were just sitting on the fringes of it, but they weren't seeing deer because those deer weren't moving out of those type
Yeah.
areas. So if there's a group of guys that are gonna watch this, what do they need to, what are some must-have, like just baseline skills? Maybe how type of firearm they're using, type of shooting style they're gonna have to be accustomed to, equipment that they're gonna want to bring with them. You know, what are some things that you suggest if you're gonna do this type of?
Light, I mean, you can't have a backpack full of crap. We're gonna be going through water that's, you know, over your knees, and in a lot of cases over your waist. Everybody gets
Sometime
soaked.
it was waist deep last year.
Yeah, and there'll be a few people every year that go into their armpits. And it's really, you know, over the years, we've hunted with a lot of people that claim to be really hardcore deer hunters have come with us. I mean, one guy, real hardcore deer hunter, I'm not gonna name him, but he came out with us. Remember that, Dave? And we did that first drive. We said, you do the first drive for us, and then we'll drive for you and I'll push something to you. He does his drive. I shoot a 140-inch 8-pointer.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes out, and you think he'd be all happy and stuff, and like, okay, my turn.
Yeah.
He starts swearing and stuff. I ain't ever going with you guys again. That's crazy. You can die out there. And I'm like, it's not that bad. You just get a little wet. You take a shower, don't you? Remember that, Dave?
Yeah, that was funny.
I think for a lot of guys, that scenario though is the unknown of what am I sinking into and can I get out?
the
I mean,
balls.
I'll be honest. The first year I went,
I remember you were
I was
terrified.
terrified.
But the difference is
Yeah.
you came back.
Yeah, I came back and you get used to it. And every year, the first time out, you just gotta get used to it.
It's like walking on a waterbed.
Yeah. And you-
The whole thing, you know, you can see the ground move for like 15 feet all around you.
Yeah.
Just take a step.
Yeah,
It
some
is
places are
unnerving.
worse than others, and you got to learn certain things.
Yeah, you gotta learn where to put your feet and how to.
Right, and
walk.
you learn real quick. You don't walk where there's no cattails. You walk around it,
Yep.
or you're going through to your armpits.
Yeah.
You see water, stay away.
And you don't follow Jeff.
You know, it's amazing how as soon as you get off that dry land, there are no hunters.
Yeah.
All of our drives, I don't think I've ever seen orange out there anywhere.
The only time is when
No.
it's froze.
Yeah, when it's froze. Yep.
And then it's usually.
And you remember that guy? There was a guy at one of the drives where 2 years in a row we shot big bucks back there, and we had to drag him right out past that guy because he sits in the same spot for the whole day.
We did that this past
And you think that guy is going to be in there hunting this the next time. And the second time we drove that buck past him, he goes, "I can't believe there's deer in there. There's water in there. What are they doing in there?"
You've seen it year after year.
Yeah. Most people think they don't live in that water, but they do. That's where they're at.
A lot of times you get out there, there's dry land out there. You know, we push in there. There's little humps. There's
Yeah.
small islands.
And that's where the deer are.
And that's where the deer are. In there, you know, you just can't see it from shore.
And you know, a lot of people probably think we're into a really great spot, but really we're not. I mean, you get up on that dry land, there's orange everywhere. There's hunters everywhere. Sometimes there's 50 trucks in the parking lot where we leave from.
I'm over 2 miles back into the middle of a cattail ocean. This is where all the big stuff goes after the shooting starts. And we usually have some action back here, but I won't shoot nothing unless it's really big. I'm waiting for Dave to catch up to me right now. We've jumped a bunch of bucks, but we're not seeing them. This stuff's pretty high and thick, and they're jumping way before we get to them. But I would expect we're going to have action soon.
Well, there's that once, what was it, 2 years ago? We went to that one spot, and the whole hill was just peppered full of orange.
Oh, yeah.
And we all just walked down into that little cattail thing, and we shoot like 8 deer out of there. And we dragged them all out, got out of there and left. And then we ran up to those guys later on in the day, and we asked them, "Oh, how's it going?" "Well, we were at this one spot, and this whole group came in there and killed everything in sight." And we just went, "Oh, really?" And we just turned around and left, and that was our group. But they were on the dry land. They weren't, you know, the deer were watching them.
So why don't you guys touch on a little bit of the pre-work that has to take place in order in coordinating this? Because I'm sure a lot of guys, you know, they hunt on public land. They probably know marshy or swampy areas. They know where bedding areas are. But what's some of the pre-work that you do from planning positions, mapping, laying out how the drive is actually going to be
I
coordinated?
think most of that falls on me. I mean, every now and then somebody else has another idea and we try it. But when you do drives, it's not me being big-headed, you have to have a leader. Because I've been on drives with other people, and Dave can attest to this when we've been with other groups. Everybody's arguing about what to do and how to start and where to start. So somebody has to be in control. Because the decision has to be made, because if you're sitting there arguing about it or even discussing it,
Yeah.
you waste way too much time.
Yeah.
And the areas that we're hunting, I know intimately. So I'm usually the one making those decisions. And I'm studying maps and choosing stuff, and you know, wind has a little bit to do with it, but more on the setup than it does on which ones we do.
Yep.
How we set up and how we start to drive, you know, which way we drive from.
Kind of stack them as we go.
Yeah, but it's usually there's some main stuff that we drive every year, and then there's always the stuff that we try,
Yeah.
you know, that we would just go test.
Now, a couple other things that are interesting from a stand placement and access with that stand. Are you guys, since you're doing a deer drive and you're hunting with guns, are you just stumbling in and being as noisy as can be on those setups?
No.
No, not at all, because those deer will know where you're at by the sounds you make.
Yeah.
We're really quiet, and we make sure that everybody is set up downwind before anyone goes anywhere near upwind, and we're not having loud conversations or anything. And a lot of the deer are killed right when people start setting up upwind.
my buck last year.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep, your buck,
Is that the one where you sent me at the wrong
the
stuff?
wind was blowing right down where you guys would set up from.
Yeah.
And what I found is the bucks, when you jump them, they either go straight downwind or they go straight upwind, one or the other. And those cattails, they can go any direction they want. And most of the time, it's the wind to the tail, like they like to smell where you're at when they're in that thick cover. And in the case of yours, those guys were setting up probably 300-400 yards from you.
Yeah, they didn't even start really
When that
walking
deer
in the
took,
woods.
yeah, they didn't, they were just starting to set up, 300 or 400 yards, and that buck came
Just
flying
getting in
past
there.
you, and you got it.
Yeah, they just wind bumped him and he ran right through and I
We were
got him.
putting,
And
He wasn't going, he was
we were putting the
taking his
ladder up,
time, it took a
actually.
while to get there, but.
Yeah, but he was- yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
I think he didn't kick it into gear till he got out of the swamp.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that, not that it's a tactical thing, but it's something I have to bring up to embarrass Dave, is that
Better you than me.
Dave always takes the spot that Jeff was in. And there's only 2 times he didn't sit there, and he never gets a buck there, even though it's a great spot. But the 2 times he didn't hunt there, one Chris shot a buck, and one he shot a buck.
Yeah.
And I remember when he shot the buck, Dave said, "You might as well sit there. I never get nothing there."
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
And that was a pretty good buck. I think that was a
Yeah, good
3-year-old.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a 130.
Yeah.
No, I didn't yet.
In the live thread. Good picture of him with it. What you do?
Shot me a buck.
Dave's mad. He's like, 2 times I don't hunt that island.
Recording?
Yeah,
Alright, I was sitting right up.
I can't hear you from this far away.
I was sitting up on the tip. These guys are pushing through the cattails. I was sitting there fumbling with my hand warmer because I was freezing to death up there. And all of a sudden the cattails started shaking like this, like a freight train's coming through. And all of a sudden he came right off the tip. He was probably only like 15 yards away. And he came in and all I could see was really tall tines. So I grabbed the gun quick, put it on his shoulder, wrapped one off. He kept going, wrapped 2 more off. And I saw him get over here and I saw him flip. And then all of a sudden I gave him a minute and I saw his legs moving a little and I thought, no, we're not going on a goose chase today. So I put one more for insurance, threw him and dropped him. But yeah, he's a nice 7. Looks like he broke off a brow right here. But all I could see were these nice tall
Yeah,
2s on him.
good. It actually, I think that's a 3-year-old. Look at the body size on him.
He's got a pretty good body on him.
Yeah, I think that's a 3.
But no, it happened so fast, blink of an eye. So these guys did a great job covering the primary
Yeah.
bedding area.
You know where they were?
Yeah.
He had to have jumped right when they started because of the west wind blowing. I mean, the north wind blowing
There
right in
was,
there. Dave has sat here every single time we've
Yeah,
done this
I know.
drive,
Yep.
except for twice. And each time a buck was shot here, and every time he's sat here, nothing has been shot
I
here.
gotta thank Dave for letting me sit here this year. Dave,
Way to
I'm
give it
gonna
up,
go and
Dave.
work hard now and push hard and get you one now. So let's
All right.
get another one.
All right.
And in these drives too, there's, you know, this trees we go into, they're the same trees
Yep.
every time. You know, there's one, when you walk in there, you know where you're going. You know, they'll say, head over here, cross over and go over the tree. And, you know, we've been doing it long enough that
Find
most
all
of
the
us know
scars
where the
and
tree is and you know
sand.
exactly where you're gonna climb up
Yep.
and sit in. So these are, you know, established areas that we've done drives in the past, and you have maps every morning, you set them up, you know, so everybody knows where they're going and
Yeah.
we're all in place.
We try to take, let everybody rotate through different years, get a chance of pushing or standing, or that also makes you learn that area better. So if you go in there with a bow, you know where the bedding is and you know where to focus and where to set up a stand.
We put those kids in there last year on that last drive, and that kid shot like
What did you do, 3 or 4
3 or
deer?
4 deer
Yeah.
when they came
Yeah.
out. He was waiting,
Right
and
at the
he
end.
pushed all day. And
That was great because I was standing on the hill watching them, and I don't think that kid had shot many deer in his life.
no, yeah.
No.
It was a friend of Chris's. You invited him along, and we put him on the ladder. And the ladder's always the great spot.
Yeah.
That's always like the back door slip out the side kind of thing. And all the deer piled up until him, and then they tried sneaking past him, and I think he got 3 or 4 deer.
He just kept
Yeah,
shooting.
this is a lot done.
Yeah, he actually blew himself right off the ladder in
Yeah.
the first shot.
Yeah, he was using the shotgun.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Yeah, he did well though, man. He got 3 deer out of there.
Yeah,
In a matter of
And he was
15
excited.
seconds.
yeah. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Now, some years there's not always snow on the ground, but a couple times that I've done this with you guys, there's a fair amount of snow on the ground, and how do you guys utilize that from a tracking perspective? Because I can remember a couple particular instances where Dan and I were on the drive, and you cut across prints of a buck, and we started pushing it and moving it. So how does that factor into your plan? You know, when you cut across the track and you want to start moving it, we're not hunting these huge expansive.
Well, what's nice is we got the area surrounded, and if we can let everybody else know through the phone or through radio that we're on a track, and then one guy stays on the track, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's that easy. But I don't like the snow personally. We kill more deer in it,
Yeah.
but everybody does, and they kill a lot of deer in the
Too many
snow.
people figure out.
And
where
yeah,
you
and then
are.
they start following the tracks around and following them into the swamps and finding where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it helps everybody else. Where we're going to kill those deer either way. One thing that's interesting about this whole thing is that I think when people are thinking about drives, they're thinking about ground level, and they're probably wondering how the hell do you go in cattails and kill these deer?
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're hunting out of tree stands
Or
and
the
ladders.
ladder.
And most people that do drives don't do that, but you have to for safety reasons. Number one,
Shoot
and number
down.
two, most of these deer we would have never killed if we weren't in a tree stand.
No.
I mean, because you're shooting over bunches of cattails and stuff, but your bullets are going down. It's safer. You can see the deer from a distance, and so we're going to the outskirts and surrounding these areas, basically.
There's the tree all by itself. Looking out over the cattails here, and just jumped right over here. You're the one who jumped it.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
Way to go. Good shooting, Tex.
Plus the people pushing can see where they're going. I mean, in those cattails, you can't see very far, and a lot of times you'll just hear the deer bust ahead of you, and you have no idea, you can't see it, so you just keep walking towards, and you head that way, and it
Right, and
helps
when
you.
you're new, the guy in the stand can call you, go, hey, you're going the wrong way, turn this way or turn that way, or
And you brought up a point about talking on the phone or whatever sometimes, but I know like Chris and I, when we've seen each other, we've been like using hand signals sometimes back and forth. Because even when you're in there, we try to encourage people to remain complete quiet. And we don't want you going through that cattails fast. You want to go through just slow. You don't want to, you're just nudging these things along. You don't want to
Yeah,
get
you don't
them
wanna yell or
busting
anything.
out 90 miles
those deer,
an
if
hour.
they know you're coming, they actually make a plan.
Yeah.
When you come in there noisy, they either blow at your feet and take off like a rocket, or they sneak out and ahead of you. And I mean, think about that 12-pointer I got 2 years ago. That thing was sneaking ahead of you guys,
Yeah.
but he wanted to go with that wind to the tail. And he maneuvered his way around you guys, and then you guys were completely done with that drive. And I stayed in the tree, just in case. And I think you had said something to me on the radio, like, hey, there's one moving around in here.
Yeah.
So I stayed in the tree on purpose and just kept watching, and sure enough, he came sneaking out real slow and easy. And then I got him, but the first shot didn't drop him, then I dropped him further out. But that's another one. You were just over 200 yards from me on the top of the ladder, and it was right in between us, but me from in the tree, I could see it and
Yeah.
shoot it,
All right.
where I wouldn't have been able to shoot from ground level, I'd been shooting at you,
Right.
and you couldn't even see it.
Nope, never saw it.
Yeah, you got him with the first shot, and I think the 11th shot, or 12th shot.
Drift clip in.
Yeah, there was a little lead flying. My fingers were so frozen, I couldn't load that magazine.
That's the one that you dropped the mag on that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I dropped the mag. I couldn't even get the bullets in the mag, and I just dropped the mag, and I was putting one bullet in at a time. Then when I finally got him, he had actually gotten to a bed. There's a little dry hump bed in there, and he got to that bed and stopped, and stuck his head up and looked around like that, and I shot him right there in the last shot. But he was already fatally hit. That was a heavy blood trail from the first shot.
Did you see the one that went between me and you? The one I was shooting at? You couldn't see it?
I couldn't see it.
And all of a sudden I see his head go up like this.
Yeah.
And I know I was out of shells, so I pumped it open, and I'm putting a shell in there with my numb fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's gonna run, you know. I'm putting a shell, and he's looking around.
Yeah.
And I chamber it shut, and I pull it up with the crosshairs on his neck, shoot, and the neck goes up, down he goes.
I think what happened.
You must have almost walked on him where you came out.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think what happened too is when those guys went in, I was literally on top of a trail, and he went right on a trail and saw me and then bounded behind me.
Yeah.
I should have been probably 25
Into the thick.
a little further back, not far, but just enough so he could have
Yeah.
stayed on that trail.
Yeah, you know, I that happens every time, and I can tell you guys that, but you
I
don't
know.
know it until you go in there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now you know it,
Now you know it. Yeah.
because that happens
I
every
think if I
single
would have been
time we do
25 or
this.
50 feet back, he would have stayed on that trail and come right between me and you.
I can't believe how often we do this. None of you guys did in this drive before. I'm like, this is going to get ruined again. But that's how you learn how to do it.
I think I did this 2 years ago because I remember that island.
Okay.
I think it was.
This one is the one that always pays off. I don't know how big the buck is. It's got a good rack on it. But at 100 yards trotting with my eyes, I
Pretty
couldn't
good.
see it very good.
And
But
then
I know
when
when
you
I
were
shot that
shooting-
140, I couldn't even hardly see the rack. And this one, I could see the rack.
When you were shooting, I'm like looking at. I'm like, what the? I knew you were shooting at something.
I thought you could see it.
I
I'm
couldn't
like, why
no.
isn't he shooting?
No, I had my gun up and I could not see it. So he must have been down low enough where.
Man, am I shaking? I'm cold. So I think this thing was like teasing me. He put this rub right under my stand. This is the tree I always sit in.
Yeah.
So he paid for it. You don't tease the big buck serial killer.
Yeah, you don't mess with him. You got him.
I don't know. It looked like a decent buck. It's running though. So
There?
yeah,
Where do you want to take the gear?
we'll just take it up by the trail. Where's everybody?
What do you mean we were in today, we said we'll come over
Out
and see
there?
Danny.
What do you mean out there? Out there?
Yeah, he's out there dead.
There you go.
Where's he? That way?
Yeah. You almost stepped on him coming out.
I'd say he's not out far, is he?
Huh?
He's not out far, is
No.
he?
He
I'd
used
say
to run for
ran
land.
to the bottom here.
Did you see him?
No, I saw something when I was over by Dave.
You-
Something came through there, made noise, and I said, Dave, I said, look over here, and he goes, what? I go, you're right, no, you're left. And then I didn't hear, I just heard noise.
Oh,
I
okay.
couldn't see, you can't see in there.
I thought it was backdooring you.
So thick.
Oh, I think it did. You okay?
I'm just cold.
Oh, so is he freaking fell through 3 times.
But when we set up on those too, we're always covering a back door. Because sometimes those deer, they'll just hold tight. And you almost have to step on them to get them to move. And if you're not covering that ground, and sometimes when we go through it, we don't go in just a straight line. We're trying to take as many deer trails because you can't penetrate those cattails because it's like a wall. But then when you get a fork, you'll try to cut through to kind of do like a zigzag back and forth.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the wind.
Yep.
They want to go that direction through you because of the direction of the wind.
Yeah.
And that's why we
then
always put the guy in the
on
back.
the back door on a ladder or something watching it. And I've sat there when the drive's done, and like you said, that little one. It's like, where'd that thing come from?
That's part of the reason why we're quiet too, I think, so the deer can't tell where exactly we
They
are.
can't
See
pinpoint
between us
you.
coming back.
Or know
They
if
just
you're a
smell.
deer or what you are. Right.
The other thing that makes me think of is, in a couple of those particular cases, you guys are utilizing certain land features as borders, where those deer are coming in and they're sort of circling that back door, but it's always up against those land features. You guys
Up
wanna
against a
talk-
lake, up against a
Lake.
river,
Talk
up
about that
against
a
an
little bit.
island. Our best one is a huge expanse of cattails that's got some dry areas in it and a couple little islands. But what's unique about it is on one end it's got a little tight area, the other end it's got a little tight area, and you can completely surround this and there's no way out without coming past this.
And this spot here, the deer are usually bedded over here, but sometimes they're bedded in front of that island back there. The guys are going to drive from that island to that island, and then they're going to come back like this. There's some short cattails in the middle here. We got a guy on this island here who can shoot any deer backdooring. And then over here, we got a guy on a tree, and another guy on the ground over there. And I'm out in the cattails, blocking them from going straight up the cattails into the next section.
I mean, we don't go do a drive of an expansive area of cattails. We used to, but we never killed anything doing that. You know, so we started focusing on land features that you could control the movement. Yeah. And that particular drive, that one that lays out so well, we've killed, since I started this, probably before most of these guys, me and Dave go way back on this, but I think we've killed about 16 good bucks out of that particular drive. And there was a period of time where I went about 8 years in a row where I shot a big buck on that drive. Every opening day of gun season. One would come out and I'd shoot it. And Dave was always the unlucky one on that one.
because you'd shoot them before they got to you.
Well, that one,
Dave,
Dave-
that
towards
tree.
the best one that I
That tree
remember,
is gone now,
The
Dave.
guy's like 20 yards in front of me.
the best one I remember, there's two good ones with Dave, but the best one I remember was, I'm getting these guys in line and I'm talking to them on the radio, and Dave's supposed to go to this island and get set up. And I'm talking on this radio, and out of the corner of my eye, I see something moving, I look over, and it's Dave on the island going like this. And I look at him, I'm like, and he goes like this, and I look down, and there's this big 8-pointer running right underneath me. I just pulled the gun out, boom! He jumped it, and it was in line with me, so he couldn't shoot.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and then the other one was,
Bolt back to placement though.
the other
I
one
thought
was,
you were already up in the tree and you remember I waited
yeah.
just in case I kicked one up.
Yeah. And the other one was that real big 8-pointer,
Yeah,
white
8-pointer.
8-pointer. That's when we had the kid that left and never came
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, what's his
I
face?
wonder why.
Come on, soaked his armpits. He said, I ain't never going in there again.
Yeah.
But that buck was hopping, like
Yeah.
up, look around, you go a little ways and hop up. And I timed my shots. When he hopped up like that, I shot. And then he went down, and I never seen him again. And I directed the guy doing the drive to go over there. He's like, there's nothing over here. And he keeps doing the drive, and then well, nothing comes out. So I wanted him to go back through, but he was not going back in that swamp. So I go over by Dave, and Dave's like, well, when you shot, it started running really hard straight at me. And he goes, and it stopped right here in front of me. He goes, and I think I heard gurgling.
Yeah.
We were walking right into cattails right in front of his stand on the trail going to him and released the buck. And my shot was what? Like that was like
Yeah, that's,
250, I think.
yeah, that's pretty damn far.
Yeah.
Look at that. He was headed for Dave, and then Dave said he heard him gurgling in here, and he never came out on the drive, so I was sure he was still in here. And we came in here and searched, and this is so thick, it was so hard to find him, but here he laid.
All right.
Isn't that awesome? Public land.
Yeah.
That's all the way across.
Speak about long shots. That Dave, you know the spot with the big non-typical. We did a drive there. I think it was the first drive I ever did there. I did it, and Dave was the only one on stand. It was just the two of us, and I went all the way around that point. And I come up and I kicked the buck up in front of me, and I hear Dave shoot, and I go over by him, and he says, "I think I got him." I says, "Well, where was he?" And he goes, "He was over there by that little
Oh, yeah.
pole sticking up." And I'm like, "That's 400 yards." And he's like, "Well, that's where he was." I go, "You didn't hit him." He goes, "Well, I think I hit him." He acted like he was hit. He took off, and I'm like, "Come on." He goes, "Yeah, I ran over there, and I never saw it cross the road." So I go over there, start looking around. I'll go around these bushes. Here lays this buck, heart shot. It was running when he shot.
Well, I was over at Dan's mom's getting something to eat, and Dan goes, "Hey, let's try this land out over down the road." So we got over here, and Dan showed me the property, which way they were going to do it, and then we flipped a coin. I won the coin toss, so I got to sit, and Dan had to do all the work, and I know I was sitting on there, I just seen a deer cutting through, and so, you know, I was getting pretty far out, so I just put it in the front shoulder and pulled the trigger, and I wasn't sure if I hit it or not, but it wouldn't cross the road. You know, so I figured something had to be wrong with it, and I seen it running along the wood edge, and I just more or less seen it pile up, but I wasn't very sure. But now
How far was the shot?
well, 300,
300 yards?
300, maybe 250. Can you tell me? See, like that corner, that grass field?
That's all of 300.
Yeah.
Hold that huge rack up one.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Yep. That's a monster.
What'd you think that was?
I thought it was a big doe coming through, but it was
300 yards running.
300 yards running, nailed it right dead center.
Nice shot, Dave.
That's one of my favorite spots. Favorite drive that one.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
good,
It's a
good
good drive.
spot.
I think people are figuring us out there though, because last year there was a lot of people in there.
You gotta get in there early for the drive.
Most season too though.
I remember when we dragged that deer out, we drove past an hour later and everybody's lining up doing it.
Yeah.
You see that?
No, honestly, my favorite story involves my kid. You
Yeah.
know which one I'm talking about.
That's what I
Killer.
was thinking.
Killer.
That was awesome.
We put him up in a lone tree in the middle of a swamp area. I posted, I don't know, a couple hundred yards away. I could clearly see him in the stand. This was his first season hunting with Dan. And they did the drive, and I saw him stand up, and he aimed his gun, and he sat back down. I'm like, oh God, he can't pull the trigger. Next thing I know, he stands up, he pops one, and I see him swing over his shoulder, and I hear the gun go off again. And I said, I think he got one. And then once we all got to him, he goes, I didn't get one. He goes, I got two.
Right. And then your other kid.
My other son was posted at the back door, and is still to this day pretty angry at his brother because
He was running right up to him.
he was running right towards him.
You already had one.
Not my deer.
That by far is my favorite
Yeah.
memory that I think I'll ever have because I was able to witness it from start to finish, and it was his first 2 deer. Even though my older son is still mad about it.
Dan and Dave were driving the deer, and I was up in the stand over there, and I saw a deer with its tail up just sprinting through. Another 2 minutes went by, I didn't see it. Then I heard some stuff rattling over there. One deer came through, saw another one. I shot at the bigger one, and I got 3 shots on that one. It went down right away, so I turned around, and I saw the one just standing right over there. And I unloaded 2 shots into that, and it's laying over there in the gully too.
And this is your first time getting a deer?
Yes. So my first
Awesome.
time getting 2 deer. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for taking us out.
I like that one. I like the one where we had that doe that came out of the drive crawling, belly
Oh
crawling.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
right.
shot her underneath the tree.
Yeah, right under the tree. She snuck up on her belly, and I didn't see her till the last second, and I kind of pinned her to the tree with my shot.
Good eater there.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Good shot. Right
Thanks for your help.
Spot.
My other really good hunt that I remember all the time with you is the one where we gave the doe the heart attack.
I think to back up to that story, it ended up being I was sitting on the ladder, and we had you walking through, and Dan was up on a hill a little bit further. And you were walking through, and you were next to that lake, and you were zigzagging
Yep.
back and forth real slow. And as you get closer to that lake,
Didn't he go?
it gets worse and worse
Yeah,
and
it gets
worse.
yeah.
That's bad.
So Jeff's going back and forth, and I'm trying to tell him, like, get a little closer to that lake. There's a little bedding over there. And he's going closer to the lake. He's like, it's getting deeper and deeper. Well, I could see, like, from his chest up, starting to turn orange. And then all of a sudden, he disappeared.
I was sitting there, I could see you walking.
Yeah.
I could see Jeff, and all of a sudden it was like,
Where'd he
Where'd he
go?
go?
And I hear, whoa! And he goes, you didn't touch bottom, did you?
No, I was thigh deep with one
So
leg.
he finally starts to come back up, and he digs himself out, and he says, he's cursing a little bit,
A little bit.
and he starts walking, and he gets going about 15, 20 yards, and then he goes,
Yeah.
oh no! It's like I dropped my gun back there. So I'm just sitting there shaking my head, and I'm like, okay. So he goes back, gets the gun, and all of a sudden he disappears again.
Yeah. It was the other leg.
Fell through the other side, got back up, and kept going through. And now that we know there's a deer in there, we're trying to get
Yeah.
Jeff to nudge that along so either Dan or I can shoot it. Nudging along, keep going.
Well, I think Dan, you knew it was there. You saw it.
Right. Well,
And you were
that,
trying
we
to
had
direct
snow
him.
that time, and it slipped past whoever was on the ladder, shot one or something. Or
Yeah.
I think it was Jason was on the ladder,
Yeah.
that was.
and that one slipped around you on the backside.
That was the year of the little Japanese
Right.
crap rifle.
Right. Yeah, that was quite the hunt.
Is that where you got your eye tattoo?
That was the forehead.
Forehead?
Yeah, that was the forehead.
Because to back up now, I'm coming across that island, that little island, and he's on the kill spot where your friend shot all those deer.
That was the snow year.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're on the ladder.
Yeah.
He's on the ladder at
I
the
was
point
in
of
the
the
tree.
island. Okay.
And I saw you, because you saw a deer
So
bedded.
I had 2 deer ahead of me on it. I was following the tracks.
Oh, yeah. we were
And one of
pushing
them jumps up, and I wanted Jason to get it, and it was going to run out in front of him.
Towards me.
So I didn't shoot. I let it go out there, and Jason takes aim and he shoots. And he's just sitting there like this, like looking. And the deer's still there, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And the deer turns around and runs off. And
Yeah.
somehow it got through everybody without getting
It
shot.
ran right by me, and I picked my gun up like this, and I went, I aimed, and I pulled the trigger, and all I heard was click. And it had.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. I remember.
I
hearing
dropped my
click.
gun before, and it froze
Yeah.
solid full of ice.
Yeah, it was cold deer.
Yeah.
So then when I get over by Jason, There is blood just pouring out of his head. There's this big gash to the bone right here. You still got a scar, don't you? Yeah. That's a nice one. and he goes, "Do I need stitches?" I'm like, "Man up, we're good. We're not done."
Yeah, no, you didn't say man up, we're not done. You go, no, you're fine.
You're fine.
You go, lift up your hat. You go, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just put some dirt on it.
I have had
Meanwhile, I was trying to carry
bites.
the ladder and I couldn't walk straight.
Dizzy. We couldn't tell if we're following deer or his blood trail.
Yeah, I have a headache.
But then we get down. Jeff finally kicks that deer up. The second one, the one that got around Jason when he got the head whack, and I see it just kind of creep out, and I take a shot at it, and apparently I missed because jerks like this, looks around, turns around, runs right back by Jeff. Well, it kind of sneaks. It wasn't running.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell Jeff to get on its tracks, and he's like, "Oh, it's too wet out here."
That was headed right
There's
to
that
the edge
water
of that
bed where you
lake.
fall through all the time.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So then I go down there, and I go up the trail, and I see the deer laying there. So I get the gun up, and I start sneaking up on it, because it was so far out, it was out of the cattails. It's in the waterbed stuff where you shouldn't walk. And I get over there, and I nudge the deer, and it doesn't move. I'm like, well, maybe I hit it. So I start looking around. There isn't a bullet hole on this thing anywhere.
Yeah, we
There-
never
yeah.
found a bullet hole anywhere.
No.
Field dressed and everything, there was no bullet
No,
holes. That thing had a heart attack.
No blood in it.
But we chased that thing through 3 drives.
But we got over here and we did the second drive, and Jason missed one over by that little island over there at point blank. Poor Jason. And took a really bad scope to the eye. And then we saw tracks coming in here, and this is a dead end. It ends at a road, and there's nothing on the other side, so we knew the deer was in here.
Lake's right here.
Yeah, so we, I stood up on the hill over here and I surrounded the area, and I had Jeff here going swimming because he likes to swim. Right, Jeff?
Yep, especially at 5 foot nothing.
Yeah, and they were, this deer was running circles around him in here, and I picked it off from way up on that hill, but I have yet to see any blood or anything. I don't know if it had a heart attack or what, because I can't figure out where I hit it. There's no blood on the whole trail in here, even in the snow.
Where did you hit it?
I have no idea. Wherever it was fatal.
Yeah. I don't know where you
Not one drop of blood anywhere.
That's the way to kill him. You don't spoil meat.
Yeah.
He's scared her to death, literally, because of his reputation.
Well, I shot at this thing from, what is it, how far is that, top of the hill? 200 yards. And she ran in here and Jeff wouldn't come in here after her because he said it was wet.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I had to come down here and look. There's no blood. She belly crawled to here and just died. I think she knew the big buck serial killer was after her and just had a heart attack and died.
Been a good drive.
Next
Jason, what happened to your forehead?
Yeah, show it to the
Yeah,
camera.
let's see. We gotta show it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, let's get that on film.
Hang on, let me get the.
let it see.
Let me
Very
zoom
good.
in.
Highlights.
You want to explain that, Jason? Do you run into a tree branch or?
No, I ran into a scope. Thank you.
Looking at the over-unders, huh?
That's all right, Jason.
We've all had that at least once.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys touch on a little bit of a timeline of how long it takes for one of these drives to develop as you know, and then we can touch on wind and maybe positioning of how you're utilizing that. But, you know, are these things quick? Are they lining up in a line and you're hitting it and you're out right away? Or are the people that are on the pointer spots, and then you sitting for a while, is you have to be patient in order for it to develop?
We get about 5 or 6 drives done a day. It's not a lot. Because a lot of them, I mean, we're doing a drive that really takes like a mile. You got to walk all the way around something. But some of them are quicker, some of them are taking
The
longer.
quickest one is the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first one too, we can drive around to the start of it.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So that makes it fast.
But that after that, it's it ain't quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked on my phone. We've gone. We do 6-7 miles in a
Yeah.
day. I mean, we only cover a small section when you look at it from the road back. But you figure you walk it, then you move, and you walk it, and you move. You're covering those spots. And it's
Yep.
6-7
Well, and they're
miles.
not. It's not easy
No.
mileage either.
No,
It's-
that's not no
It's
6-7
definitely
miles
physical.
flat or anything.
No.
That's 6-7 miles of hell.
yeah.
It's like walking in a bouncy house. Is what it's like.
If it's
walking.
cold, if it's cold here, it's a good time to do the drives and work hard because you
I
stay
like
warm.
pushing them. Yeah.
Well, one thing I think that you gotta touch on is like what you wear. Most of us are wearing just like muck style boots, knee high boots. That's usually what it is, and you're usually getting wet constantly.
Yeah.
I know the first year I ever went, I didn't know what I was getting into, so I wore like a big overall suit because I thought I would be doing a lot of standing. Yeah, that was a mistake because you just sweated to death.
Yeah.
But I mean, now it's you just go, you wear a light orange jacket or a vest, a sweatshirt, and a pair of jeans.
I think that,
Yeah, actually, if it's
pretty
cold
much
out,
it.
a lot of guys want to do the driving.
Yep,
yeah.
I do.
I mean, it's nice to take turns because then you warm up, and when you're sitting on stand, you're usually freezing, and you're only there
Yeah.
for like 15 minutes,
Especially
20
if you're
minutes.
wet. If you're wet when you go up there, it's a long
Yeah.
time. It seems like forever when you're waiting for the guys to get through when it's
Beats you
wet.
up pretty bad.
Well, opening day last year, that was the rainy one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, that you gotta have equipment that you can get on and off really easily, and depending on whether or not you're doing drives or you're sitting, you gotta have stuff that you can adapt. So the traditional big blaze orange coveralls that you will overheat, or even wearing thermal long underwear or underlayers, you're gonna get heated up.
Yeah.
You gotta wear something light for those drives because you're walking a lot, and then when you get on a sit, you're not all sweated up and wet,
Yep.
and then have to sit for sometimes 45 minutes waiting for the drive to develop.
Yeah, sometimes on a push, I just wear an orange sweatshirt is all I wear, jeans,
Yep.
boots, a light pair of gloves, orange sweatshirt, and a ball cap. I mean, when you get done through those cattails,
Yeah,
you're soaking wet sweat. and
The,
you're
the
falling
trouble with
through.
that is some of those sections we do have like a mile long drive, then they got a half-mile long drive, and you go in one end of the woods and you come out like 6 miles down after doing several drives. So one time you might be pushing, one time you might be standing. So you can't really dress for both.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah, you're gonna have to endure some sort of extreme.
It's not for everybody, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I like about Chris is from day one, he was never afraid of the swamp. He likes to do the drives.
Well, I like being, I like walking. That's
I like pushing them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a good point too. I would say the guys that are pushing are getting a lot of action too.
Oh yeah.
They're getting the most shooting, I would
Remember the
think,
time
out of
that me and you
everybody.
did that drive and Chris's son shot the buck? We actually were jumping this buck in front of us and decided not to shoot it. And it got to the point where I saw it bedded in front of me.
Yeah, like 10,
Like
15 yards.
yeah,
if that.
probably about where the door is up there. And it's right in front of me, and I'm looking at it through the crosshairs, and I'm like, and then Jeff's right on the other side of me. I go, Jeff. He goes, yeah. I go, you want that one? He goes, no. Let's push it towards the boys. So then we went in and it ran over there, and then your son shot it.
Hey, you, what are you doing? Look at that, I can shoot that thing all day long. I can shoot that thing with a bow if I wanted to. There he goes. Go, yeah. Buck up. What's going on over here?
Huh?
What's going on over here?
We're dragging the buck out.
Yeah, that was cool.
And we had that
Watching.
wide 6 on that same drive that everybody missed.
Came through by
Oh,
me, too.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I was sitting right near him.
You must have still had Japanese rifle, you couldn't hit it.
I don't know what I was shooting that year. I think I was shooting one of yours that year.
Oh.
So I didn't have nothing yet.
Well, what are you guys using? Chris, what do you
I was
bring?
using a Marlin 336 30-30. It's a lever action with a scope, but it's not. I mean, it's sighted in maybe 7,500 yards. It isn't that far. I mean, you don't get that long of a shot unless you're in a tree. But pushing that short gun is a nice gun to use in the cattails.
And I tell you what, the way you like those cattails, I know it hasn't happened to you yet, but that's usually where I run into the biggest stuff. It just won't exit into the woods where the hunters are.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it out there. I like it in the cattails. It's nice to keep warm, keep walking. And it's fun to see guys. I mean, even if you don't get one, I enjoy when, people get a deer. We're all, stand around, watch them gut it, rib them a little bit, and then everybody drags it out. You got a bunch of guys there, and I don't think anybody there hasn't helped somebody else pull a deer out.
Well,
So
no, it's like
a-
you
it's a
return
good
the
group.
favor because you know you're gonna be, you could be you around the next drive. You know,
you never know.
just help each other out.
Yep.
And to get them out, we're using a sled usually in the cattails. And then we've got a cart usually that we can meet up with on the dry land. To help it
last
go a
year,
little
that
bit
last
farther.
drive, neither of us wanted to help.
No, I think it took. What did it take?
None of us wanted to help.
5 guys to get that one out.
Just for that, I gotta tell a story about the roar deer.
Oh, yeah.
Who was next to me on that?
Me.
You were?
Yeah, he shot
So
it.
you heard that roar, right?
I was
bear.
sitting
I thought
on
it
the
was a
stand.
bear.
I thought it was
It's-
a monster or whatever the hell the thing was.
It sounded like a grizzly bear. You hear this boom, and it was like a pop, like straight down. You were there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the cattails right
That
next
was
to it.
wow.
Was
So,
that deer
oh
double
yeah,
back?
yeah,
That
yeah.
deer
You were
double
out in the
back?
cattails past them, yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounded like the shot was straight down. It was like there's no crack.
Didn't you just yell before you shot too?
I got it backdoored me.
Yeah, you yelled back door.
You were
Because that was
I
when
was
his
just
gun,
up
remember
from-
his gun, it jammed or it fell apart. When you
That's,
had
yeah,
it.
that's what that Japanese piece of shit apart. First drive, I go to chamber
I had
around
to
and
use
it
your
blows
gun.
apart.
Yes,
You
I
used
had
your
the,
gun.
I had the
What's that?
243 and I had the
Did you
30
call it, or
six.
fucking
I'm
guy
like,
you
just
bought
use
at-
the 30
wasn't
That's
that
what
guy you bought at the
Jason
gun
was.
show or
Oh,
something?
that's
Ah,
a
that's a buddy of mine.
Look at you.
So you yelled,
I yelled backdoor because
and
it
then
was
you heard
right
a
behind
pop,
me.
and then you hear,
that
roar.
thing's
And Chris looks at me and he goes,
What the hell was that?
shoot a bear down there? And then when we go down there,
Big
there's
play.
literally meat hanging in the
Yeah, I
trees.
remember that.
And I was stuck in the mud. I
And
couldn't
the
move.
deer, yeah, he's stuck up to his waist and he can't move, and the deer is literally 3 feet from him.
I got pictures of him. He's got feet like 1 foot at the base of one tree, 1 foot at the base of the other. The deer is in like a foot of water.
Oh, I gotta
And
see that.
He's like standing over it and was like soaking wet because it was a wet year and the water was
That
up
is
into
Yeah.
the woods.
You got pictures of that?
Yeah.
Well, as I was falling and thinking I was going to sink in, that's when I yelled backdoor. She came back around, it was right over there. She stopped, got the scope on it, and all I had was a headshot.
And you took it and you hit her I think you spined her. You must have neck shot her.
Yeah, all
that-
I seen was head and neck.
It's your first deer ever, right?
Yeah.
It's a good one. My first one had buttons.
Oh, yeah, I got her right there, eh?
Nice.
Not a fun part, getting her out of here.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Nice job.
When I heard that roar, I thought maybe you had a giant buck down.
I thought it was.
I don't know what the f was.
I
Like
looked
said,
at
all
I looked at
seen-
Jeff and I said, he shot a grizzly bear.
Sounds like man, it was a bear.
Yeah, cool.
No, all I seen was, like I said, all I seen was this, right here in the ear.
Cool. See what happens when you get a good rifle?
You shot her back here? Where'd you shoot her? When we were standing back here?
Right
there.
about here
Yeah, there's
someplace.
blood all over there.
Oh yeah, I see
Right
it.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's blood all
So
over.
she didn't go far. Well, then that drive, I lost Mario. Because that stuff was so thick in there, you couldn't. I couldn't hear you.
That's a cattail ocean out there.
That was bad.
Yeah, that's the one thing to realize when you're in those cattails is there's sections that are so tight together that you literally can't walk through them.
Yeah.
So you got to
Right.
navigate and find trails.
You
and
gotta use deer trails.
you'll find areas in there that are all laid down and smoothed out, sort of like these pods, and that deer was running through those areas, and it wasn't that far from me when I jumped it, but I knew where you were along the edge because I was out
Yeah,
in
you
the
were kind
cattails
of more
like
in the
50,
middle.
60 yards out in the middle. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the importance of trusting the people that you're with and everyone knows the plan. Like when you're in a situation like that, being in a perfect line with each other and knowing how you're advancing.
Yep.
Because you're going to get situations that Doe doubled back and she came on that transition. Like we were talking about that land feature. She tried to sneak back into you along where the land meets the cattails.
And we brought a lot of people on the drives. I mean, you brought 2 kids last year that were friends with my son. The year before that, we had his friend Evan out there. I mean, there's a lot of people that we brought along and put them in spots, and they've seen deer and gotten deer. I mean, it's you know, it's not hard to do once you
Right.
get out there and figure it
And
out.
if you ever noticed, I'm sure all of you have, the only shooting you're hearing out there is us, or after we kick deer out of the swamp. All those cars, all those people.
And we let them go, and then they.
Yeah, when we let one get
crap.
through, that's when you hear the shooting from other people.
Yeah.
So Jason, any favorite hunts?
I'd say that one.
The
The
roar?
bear. The bear.
Not the one where you gash your head open?
No, that was not. That
That
was
wasn't good?
That was nowhere near a favorite.
We've got good video of that.
Oh yeah. I
We've
saw
got
that one
really
play
good
out.
video of that.
Yeah, that one hurt. Still got a mark.
Dave, any favorite hunts?
I don't know, probably the one that two guys didn't miss or didn't shoot, and I had to
Who
track that thing for about how many miles?
Drunk boy
I had
deer?
to wait for them to set their tree stands up.
Which one?
Yeah, I don't
At
remember
any point, I
ever
remember
shooting.
the rack fell off.
Oh, yeah.
These guys, jeez.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Oh my God, these.
That was our first year.
That's
They're
the
Dan,
best
boom, boom,
story
I don't
ever.
know. Then somewhere I got hornswoggle, and well, you get in the tracks, we're gonna sit up on the ridge.
I don't know who you got hornswoggled. I thought I was giving you the best opportunity.
Oh, yes,
You got the deer.
Wait,
Right?
you all owe me because I had it at 10
I was-
yards and didn't shoot.
I was
so.
F-bombing it all the way through it, and the deer was moving so far, those tracks are 20, 30 feet apart.
I think we gotta start
Well,
that
then-
story from the
Yeah,
beginning
we kept
for the
going.
viewers
Were you
that
along
have
from it?
never seen it.
Yeah, you were shooting, and he didn't shoot.
No, Dave, I don't think
Hold
Mario
on,
was there.
Mario,
I
were you
I
along?
don't think I was there for that because I remember you
Yeah.
sending me.
I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
Jeff,
Oh, I was
Jeff was
there.
in the tree,
Jeff was in the tree, and you were.
and we were pushing the marsh from the back. That's
So
where we
Yeah,
why
that's
don't you
you and
why don't
Tusky.
you first start out and talk about like how the setup and why you set up the way you did, like wind, position, and then kind of get into.
Well, what we did was we were going to surround this bowl. There's a bowl in the swamp. And I wanted this point, and I wanted the back of the bowl, which is where Jeff sat.
Yep.
And I wanted the other side of it where Dave sat. And I wanted people going around through this bowl. And like a lot of times, it didn't work out that way. The deer came from the back side. And Jeff didn't have a buck tag, but we told him if it was a big buck, he could shoot it. And I think that was your first year along, wasn't it?
That was the first year, yeah. And so Dan's sitting on the tip out here, and I'm back. It's like a hill that comes up. And then in here is all that good buck bedding. And you guys were gonna come across this way, but I'm up here, and we're waiting for the rest of you to slowly. And it's not a very big spot to walk through.
Only two of us pushed it.
Yeah.
Only two of us.
Scott.
You know, we had it surrounded. I think Dave was sitting in that other spot
That was sitting
on the side.
side.
But
That's where me and you hunted opening bowl.
you and I were there, and then you were up a little farther.
Yeah.
So you guys had just before you even started and had gotten in there, there was I heard a deer running behind me, and I turned around and it was coming this way, and all of a sudden it runs right down past me, and it gets down like 10 yards, and I picked up the gun and I'm sitting there aiming at it, and I'm sitting there, should I shoot it or shouldn't I? And it was a solid 130 all day long. If I had my buck tag, I would have shot it, but I didn't want like Chris pissed at me for using his buck tag up. So I'm sitting there and it's just standing there for like 5 minutes, and Dan is down further from me, and that deer just doesn't even see Dan, and it's moseying around. It starts feeding, and I'm like, oh my God, I would have shot that all day long.
So hold on a second. So that was your first year coming along. So I'm sitting on that point, and
But,
I hear you walking around underneath me and wondering what the hell you're doing. And I look down and it's the buck, and I'm like, how did I get through him? I turn to shoot and it sees me. So I unload the gun and don't even touch it, and it runs towards Dave.
Yeah.
But to get back to the start of this, before we even get out there, we run into that drunk guy in the parking lot.
Yep.
So the drunk guy gets out of his car all drunk, and he says, "Oh, I'm in this open area down here." And like, okay, and he's got this whole 12-pack of beer in his backpack. Remember that guy?
Yep.
So he goes stumbling off into the woods.
He's in a camp chair in the middle of a field.
Right.
Snow-covered
Yeah.
field.
So we put Dave on the track, and the main reason I did that was because I was the only one that really knew that area well, and I wanted to make sure I got everybody placed around where that deer was going to come out.
But wait a minute, you're forgetting all kinds of good stuff. That buck walked in front of me, and then it's sneaking its way down towards Dan, right? I'm sitting here and enjoying this, and it got down, and it was literally 5 feet behind your tree. And I'm sitting there laughing in the tree. And all of a sudden I hear, boom! This sucker takes, hauling the male right back the other way towards where you guys were. And then as soon as that one started going, all of a sudden from behind me, books this giant that made that one just look like Bambi. Rack like you wouldn't believe. And it just doesn't even stop. I couldn't even get the gun up in time. Right with the other one. So now we got 2 sets of tracks. Dan comes down. I meet him there, and he says to me, the first thing he says, "Why didn't you shoot at it?" And I said, "Well, this is hunting with the big buck serial killer, and everybody just shoots giants, not 130s, right?
Okay.
So Dan says, all right, I know where they're bedded. We're going on this. And he was like one of these possessed guys, determined to get this buck. He's like, I know where they're bedded. We're running up this hill. We're going to get them. We're going to kill them. So then we started going up that spot, and Davey put you on that track.
That means Scott.
So what happened, Dave?
Well, after following him, I ran into that drunk guy again.
So how close was that drunk guy to the tracks?
No, they ran right past him.
So in an open field covered with
wide
snow,
open field, and I
two
asked him-
giant brown deer ran 20 yards in front of this guy, and he never saw him.
I'm asking him, did you see anything? And I'm standing on the
I
tracks.
didn't see nothing.
You know, the snow's just tipped up. And he's like, no. So whatever, just head down on the tracks, keep going. And what was that, maybe 100 yards from, they bedded down from him.
Yeah, not even 100 yards.
Whatever, I kicked him
Right
up.
where you hunted.
Yeah, that's right where you were.
I kicked him up out of his bed, and well, he was halfway stood up, and I shot him. He went back down, and it was about it. But that's into my story, sort of. But then I think that bigger one ran past somebody real close.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
Eddie,
It was
I think
yeah.
that's Jeff.
Jeff, the guy who's making fun of me for
Trudell?
missing.
Trudell, right here.
he's a monster,
This
run
guy.
right
No,
underneath
that
his
was
tree
Jeff.
stand.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you saw that buck.
I was way down the bottom sitting on
Was
that
it as
hump.
big as he said it was?
Yeah, it was big.
It was big, huh?
It was big.
Yeah.
I could see it from the bottom of the hill. I didn't want to shoot because he was on top
Yeah.
of the hill.
So I put Jeff in the middle of, in a tree in the middle of a wide open field so he couldn't
Yeah.
possibly miss it.
No.
but you gotta remember, he was using his 12 gauge that year.
Yep.
Was it?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a 12 gauge.
Oh, you didn't
That
have a
was-
sniper rifle.
No, I didn't have a sniper rifle.
Not yet.
How many times did you shoot?
I didn't shoot. That was the guy down in the woods.
No,
with
how many
the
times did you
beer
shoot?
in his backpack.
How many times did you-
I took 2 cracks at it, but that
See,
tree was
amateur.
really crooked and the
The
stand
tree was crooked.
yeah, the stand wasn't
tree was
cam
crooked.
locked in there. And I blew it. That's
So
fine.
then we get back down by Dave's buck, and he's gonna go take a picture, and he picks it up and the antlers pop off.
Yeah, then we try to roll it over and boom, and one
Yeah, we
right,
grabbed
grabbed
one.
it to flip
Yeah.
it,
We
boom.
were gonna gut it, we flipped it, I grabbed it by the horn and the horn came off. I felt bad. I was like, dude.
Here's your rack back.
Yeah, it was alright though. I just gave it to Jeff and he fixed it.
Yeah,
And then it was funny, the drunk guy was right there when we dragged the deer out.
yeah.
Well, I just got on his tracks and kept going. And all of a sudden, me and Scott goes, hey. And he was just laying there in his bed. He stuck his head up, so I shot him.
Yeah.
That was about it.
So what's the plan? The plan was we were doing drives, right?
Yeah, we're doing the drives, and Dan shot at him, and he made it through. And then we got on his tracks. They get out on front, and
Yeah, we circled around and you stayed on the track, and you actually caught him in his bed and got him.
yeah.
So show what happened with the antlers.
Well, unfortunately, they wanted to take pictures of it. And I grabbed by the antlers, and one popped off, and we rolled them over to get the blood out of them, and none of them fell off. Well, what are you gonna do?
Well, congrats, Dave.
Yep, thanks.
Good job, buddy.
Been on.
Good shooting. You shot better than me.
When they're 20 yards in their bed, it's pretty easy.
Well, cool. Good job.
All right.
So, the concept of the use of the step ladder, the wooden step ladder.
God.
That is. So I think we've all been.
And the word heavy goes right along with that.
Yeah. We've all been, introduced initiated into the step ladder.
Punished.
As somewhat of the first thing.
Yeah, it's not what people would think of as a tree stand.
This is how I got it.
But that thing works
Step
really
ladder.
good.
So tactically, when did you first discover that? Or what did you even think of that the step ladder would be a good
As soon as I
idea?
started hunting cattails, I was like, I gotta get up, I gotta get over these things. You get in that dogwood in the cattails, and it's like, these deer are all around you, but you got no shot.
Yeah.
And it started with bow hunting. I'd get back into dogwood and stuff, and you could stand on the ladder and shoot the bucks with the bow. But where it really shined was with the gun hunting, and with the drives, our biggest bucks come off that ladder, because the biggest bucks don't want to leave that thick stuff. I mean, Jamie, my son, he got the biggest buck we ever did a drive on. And that thing, how close to the parking lot was that?
Close.
Very close.
But everybody's parked vehicles, like
Yep.
50 yards.
That's probably actually my favorite hunt with that one. That one was fun.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
cool.
pushed that one right at him and
Dude, way to go. That's a pig. All right. That's a nice one.
Holy. That's probably. Holy crap, dude!
Holy cow.
Look at this freaking moose right here, dude.
We know who's doing the driving from now on. I knew that ladder was a good spot.
That's insane.
That's almost a 12-pointer. He was just starting at 12 points. Holy cow.
That is nuts.
Dude, nice shooting. I know you got a bad hit on him, but you got that artery back there and took him out. Nice.
Holy.
He's probably a solid 160.
Oh my god.
That's a pig.
Holy crap.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Nice job, man. But get a tag on him.
Oh shit. You gotta take it off me.
All right.
Is that ladder the original ladder that you started using?
I think it is. I think that one's retired though, because now it's starting
That,
to really get
that
bad.
one retired the year before last.
Oh yeah, is that when it was?
Yeah.
I know it was going bad.
I think I retired that one.
I know
So, talk about, and this may be, not important, but it's kind of funny, is talk about the reason why it's the wooden ladder. I think I asked when I was carrying this thing like a half mile once to the spot, like, why aren't we using a fiberglass or an aluminum?
fiberglass and aluminum make noise. They tink when you drag it through the cattails. But fiberglass is okay, but the aluminum's bad. That makes the tinking noise. But the main reason we used a real heavy wooden one is for initiation. Is to get guys like you to carry it.
Could we stealth strip the aluminum one?
But we literally, on our shoulders, and how many miles a day do we go?
6, 7, we
Somebody's always carrying at least one ladder.
That first year we crossed, it was 9 miles, and we carried it out to that island. That was gonna be my last hunt actually that day. I thought we carried that ladder out there.
I gotta tell you guys something. I went to a rummage sale kind of thing where it's like where all these vendors set up, but it's like rummage. And I was looking for a ladder to do drives with because the other one took a crap, And I'm looking around and I find the ladder. And I says, "How much?" The guy says, $5. I'm like, well, I'll take it. Step ladder. So I take it and I carry it back to the truck and I come back and there's another guy that's down from me a little bit. He goes, "I got a step ladder." I go, "How high?" He goes, 7 foot. I go, "How much?" He goes, $10. So I go over and I buy it. So I come back out there and there's a guy down a little ways. "Hey, I got a step ladder." "How much?" $15. I go, "I'll give you 10. "Okay." So I give him $10. And I'm carrying the ladder back to the truck, and I turn around, there's all these people coming after me with ladders. I took off.
Carol did verify that story.
Yeah.
It's true, she was there, yeah.
3 ladders, wow.
But I know it's got to be some site when we walk in, because there's like a line of like 6 or 7 people walking back carrying all these stands, guns.
You got stands, guns, and a ladder.
And a ladder walking back
Think
there.
about the people seeing us come out when we're carrying the ladders and the stands and all this stuff and dragging all those deer on the carts and stuff.
What's great is the conversations I have with people who aren't from this part of the country. I got some friends in Arizona that saw me post the picture of the ladder and said my stand for the next couple hours. They can't even wrap their heads around what we're doing with that thing.
So tell me, this picture that you posted, was it a selfie?
It was not. It was just the ladder.
Because I remember a hunt where you were doing a selfie and I can see a buck sneaking behind you.
Yeah, there was a selfie. Yeah, that's not
It
me.
might even be in your selfie.
Oh, man.
Deny it. That's what I do.
There is
Just
no-
deny it. Never happened.
Plead the fifth.
I got a witness here.
Never happened.
The ladder does make life interesting out there, though.
We got an upgrade. I got a 10-footer.
All right.
I actually got 2 10-footers.
Oh,
Nice.
So if
Right.
someone's going to use that ladder in these
Platform.
marshy areas, what are some quick tips? This has been covered on the Beast quite a
Well,
bit.
one
but-
thing you got to learn is how to set them up because
Right. Mhm.
you can't just set up a ladder and crawl up it.
Nope.
You have to stomp each side down to that first rung
Sink
because they
it
go through the muck, and then they seat.
and lock it in.
Yeah.
Leads to head wounds. If you don't do
Yeah,
it.
and you want the ladder like this if you're expecting deer from that way, not like this.
Yep.
Because you want to straddle it, set your butt on it, put a leg on each
Yep.
side, and look that way.
All tips I
Okay.
could have used.
Yeah, we don't tell you your first time.
sit on top with like a foot on the paint tray and then one foot down the side, and then you can see the whole way. Otherwise, you stand this way and you can't keep your balance. And then
Right.
Right, and that's where the people keep blowing themselves off the ladder where they shoot and they fall down.
Well, one year I went to put my foot on the paint tray, my foot went through it, and I went down.
It doesn't even sounds.
It doesn't sound like fun at all.
Guess who gets the first ladder sitting next to?
That is a good point, though, in a lot of these areas. I mean, from my recollection of being in a pointing position when you're not using a stand, is your height. Because even in that spot, which is kind of a CRP field, there's that little row of thicket that everyone drives through. Even that spot, having the ladder is an advantage. Because if you're on the ground, you literally can't see,
No.
25 yards in front of you because of that dogwood and everything that's
Yep.
in there, and the CRP, it's so high.
Yeah.
Um,
Even in the grass, it's better to be on the ladder.
I mean, I think when
I had
I
that doe walk, I had a really small doe walk right up to me, from me to him away. Yeah, I didn't see it until it was right there.
Yeah.
yeah, the ladder definitely adds some advantage to that. So how are you guys, when you're in these areas, how are you maintaining your line or maintaining your navigation?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I really liked it when we used to do the flag thing, and I'd like to bring that back. Because you can't see the other hunters, and you gotta,
Yeah.
we were doing it with radios for a while and stuff, but you still can't communicate how far behind or whatever. So what I try to do is, like, if I see somebody way behind, I'll call them, tell them you're going the wrong direction, or speed up, or tell somebody else slow down. Because the guys in the trees can see those people.
Right. Yeah, and the flags that they're talking about, we had, similar to what you'd see on a bike flag with, so you've got a 7-8 foot pole that's got flex to
Yep.
with an orange flag on it.
Or you go golfing right before you go deer hunting, you steal all their flags.
Yeah, yeah. I know we've had in the past, like, guys, if I'm in really thick stuff, and I'm typically holding my gun up anyways,
Yep.
I'll
Put
take
your
my
hand
orange
on
Yep.
hat.
That's, I was just gonna bring that up. A lot of times we do that.
Didn't that last, one of them drives last
You
year
and I
when
did that a
Blake,
lot.
when Blake was
Yep.
with?
Yep.
Yep.
We did that, we held the line pretty good on that one.
Yeah, we've done that quite a bit with the hat.
that works.
I've forgotten about that, yeah.
Yeah, if you can't see
The thing
it,
is,
that
you really don't
helps.
want to yell to each other or something, because then the
Never.
deer know where you're at.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So that helps you hold that line.
And if you come to a low spot, we usually wait for everybody to catch up and
Yeah.
regroup and
Right,
start
as soon as
again,
you
push
got a
again.
line where you can see the first guy there waits.
I know a good general rule of thumb is that when we have that line going, if you can look to your side and just barely make out enough of the orange through the cattails, that seems to be about the right spacing, because that way
Yeah, otherwise
a
they'll fit
deer
behind
isn't
you.
gonna sneak in between you. If you can't see that person, then you're too far apart and something can get
Actually, if
bust
you
through
got 5-6 drivers, usually we got it covered pretty good. In the old days, we used to have a hard time doing it, but now we got more guys in the group, and really, even when we get in those big areas, you have to be on the deer trails, and there's only so many deer trails. I mean, there's not like there's a whole bunch of them, and the deer won't leave those trails either. They cannot get through that wall with cattails.
Right.
It's a wall.
Yeah.
They stay on those trails.
Yep.
So if we cover all the trails, they got only one way out.
Well, that last year when we had the extra guys there, the two younger guys, that, on the big drive, I ran out of trails. I was just,
Right.
Yeah,
I was just trying to break
dead end.
ground.
Yeah, I hate to.
So there's a couple times where you'll come together with somebody else and have to walk a trail and then
Yep.
spread
That's-
back out.
spread back
again
out,
because
yeah.
there is no room to
Right.
get through.
You ever notice too, those deer know where we're at, because when you got one trail that's not covered, every time one back
Oh, yeah.
doors, that's the trail he's on.
Yeah.
Another thing, when we talk about doing these drives, and we're doing it with like the 5-6 of us, we have done 2 people drive before. I know I've done that with you, and that's usually, what, I let you go get set up.
Or we tell you wait here, and then I go, water, boom, boom, boom. You
Yeah. Right?
remember that one, right?
I do. That was another mess.
Yeah.
Not by me, though. Alright. We were going to do a 2-man deer drive, Dan and I. I was waiting to take up the trail while Dan was getting posted. And all of a sudden, Dan was gone for about, 20 minutes or whatever. And I hear boom, 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 which is the typical in-fault trademark, shoot until you got nothing left in your magazine.
So, right now, I'm on my way over by Dan. We're gonna go after this beast. He's huge from what Dan just called and told me. So, not sure if he hit him or not, but we're gonna go try to put a game plan on and put a tag on this beast. So, it's pretty nasty where we're out right here.
I'm right on the edge of an island. I was walking back here to set up and I was gonna have Jeff do a little still hunt for me. And I jumped a monster right here. I saw him in his bed looking at me, but he's just ahead of me over here. I'm gonna try and get up a tree real quick and have Jeff go around the other way.
Well, the year I shot that one off the end of that island there, you were the only one pushing out
Oh,
there.
right.
And that's an area we normally have 5 or 6 guys on, and it took you about 45 minutes to get through there because you were going back and forth, but he covered it
yeah, I
enough
remember that. I was sitting
you
on
pushed
that
that
one, too.
deer. There wasn't enough people to drive.
Yeah, but with that one, I had to use I used the lake as the one barrier, and then instead of walking parallel to the lake how we normally would, I literally would go all the way to the lake, then I'd go up about 10 yards, and then I'd come all the way back, go up, and I just kept repeating that so that nothing would backtrack, and eventually that's how we got your buck.
Well, that sort of brings up a question or an idea about when you're planning these out from a mapping standpoint and you're looking at bedding areas, the importance of understanding how deer are exiting those bedding areas or where are their escape points, right? Because those are the areas that you want to focus on covering, or if there's that land feature like the water or the river that they're going to use in an escape route. I mean, Bryce, the one year when he fell in and that buck looped back, and that deer literally went 15 yards in between me and him. He was on the edge of the river, and I was just over from him, and that deer got up in front of us and doubled back in between us, because that was the one spot of opening. So I guess when you're looking at these maps, you know, how important is that, just understanding the bedding area and knowing how to exit it?
Understanding how the exit is important, but you also gotta look at that wind really close, because like if you get to a spot where it's later in the week and everybody else is working and we're not, and we got, maybe it's me and Chris and maybe Jeff, and 2 guys gotta push and 1 guy's gonna sit or something like that, you gotta cover the downwind, upwind.
Yep.
And then forget about the rest, because that's where 90% of the time the big buck's gonna go. And if you get caught up with covering everything, you won't get the big buck, because he's gonna stay in that cover and follow that wind, you know? Most of the time they run downwind, tail to wind. When they're in that thick cover, they wanna smell who's following them. And they don't go fast, sometimes they're just sneaking.
Well, that's a good point too. Their line of sight isn't going to be much better than yours.
No.
Right? Less, because they're down further.
Lower.
They actually sink in that stuff. When you get them, they're covered with mud halfway up their body.
Yeah, that's
because
how
their
mine
hooves sink right through that. You think our big feet every now and then we go through, right?
Yeah.
They're going through every time. They're hopping in that stuff. That's got to be hell for a deer to even be in there. They're only in there for safety. I mean, there's no food in there or anything else.
But when you're in that stand, when that buck came through and he pushed it, he was far enough back that the deer wasn't running. It was walking to the point of that island. I heard the deer long before I saw it. You just heard like little splashes as it came through. It didn't come through like it was alarmed. It came through like it was just heading to a different area to get away from Jeff. I mean, it's not it was sneaking through quietly, but you could just hear the splashes as it walked, and that's what let me know it was there.
A few years ago, we went and we printed off all those maps, and we would mark up, hey, here's all of the beds. We're gonna put a stander here and here, and then we showed the zigzag lines through, and we would show everybody that when we started, just to make sure everybody was on the same page. But I know a couple of times when there's another property that's not part of our local one. There was that Sea of Cattails where you and I went like 6 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I remember pulling up my phone because we were in the middle of a cattail ocean where you could see miles and miles and miles around you, just to find the GPS dot where the hell I was and where I knew we were going. Because when you're in there, you can't see the landmass or the feature, so that you're in that general direction.
Yeah, it's easy to get turned around too. When
Yeah.
you can't
And I was in
visually.
those tamaracks too, and there's no way to see where you're going in there with those the end of that island
You
there.
got like 6-7 feet at times where you can see, and that's it.
Yep.
Not crazy, Greg. the first drive we do, we push along the road and it goes, and then the deer cross the road and we have a field covered and another area covered. And,
Which year are we talking
I
about?
think this is 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Not this year he shot 3 from the, but he was.
Yeah, I think it was
he
2
in
years
the
ago is
field.
what you're talking about.
There was
Yeah, that's
snow.
That's 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
There was snow.
Well, actually, you gotta go back here for just a second, and I'll
Yeah.
let you finish. But, Greg's disabled, he's got a disabled permit,
Yeah.
and he can fire from the road, from a
From a
vehicle.
vehicle, yeah.
Roadside.
And, we kinda really didn't take him seriously. He's just like, well, I'm just gonna follow you around with the truck and see if you guys kick something up.
Yeah, Dan, we get all of our people posted in our spots we sit, and he's like, where? And Dan's like, just go sit up on the hill up there and cover this field down here. And sure enough, we're walking through, we just hear shots up in the field going down from the road. And sure enough, Dan, he got one. Greg got one out from the car up there from his truck.
Yeah, then his leg's in a cast, and he's like,
Yeah,
you guys go fetch that for me.
Dragging the deer up.
So yeah, we dragged it up there.
And then he's like, you guys gotta dress it for me.
Yeah, you guys gonna gut this for me now?
All right, so tell me what happened.
There was a guy sitting down there, and he came through that little opening, and he stood there. And to my surprise, he turned around and started running this way. And that was the end of it. I took one shot and he rolled over, and all I could see was snow. He rolled down. It is a big doe. Bigger than I thought. Thank you guys.
Sorry about that.
Who'd ever thought of me sitting in a truck would get one?
Yeah. Well, about time you get one.
Pardon?
It's your turn.
Yeah.
About time.
Yeah, it is.
All right, you got a big one too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll load her in the truck for you, and then we're off to the next drive.
Are we gonna just leave and gut it later?
You can gut it whenever you want.
I can't get down and gut it.
Well,
Last year was better, though.
He shot 3 on
Yeah.
opening day. Same drive, but he went off the trail. The end of the drive is not too hard to get into. You can park at the bottom, and literally right across from where he parked, he was probably 50 yards in, if
Yeah,
that.
right across from my truck.
And he shot every deer that came out.
Shot the
He
whole
had 3 of
family.
them. The whole family
The
came
whole
out.
family.
We came out and he had them laying all around him.
Yeah.
They were within a 25 yard
I don't
radius.
know.
It was just
I think
that
Greg
close.
was in second half, and he hasn't had a lot of
Wow.
shooting in his life. When he comes along, he gets a little excited.
Yeah, he does.
what'd you do?
This is my day today, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
That was a good hunt. There's always an adventure. There's always some story every time.
Every time.
Makes
yeah.
it fun, makes you go back. And everybody gets wet, so every time.
Yeah, you just come to grips with it right away.
It's gonna
It's
happen.
gonna happen. It's just a matter of when.
It's gonna happen.
If you get out of this,
soaked
without getting
last
wet, you're
year.
not hunting.
That was
Yeah.
the worst. I got soaked. That last drive where, I don't remember what spot that was, but where nobody wanted to go help you drag that damn thing out. I think I fell in about 10 times going back there.
They all kind of blur together after a while,
Yeah.
getting wet.
So if you guys didn't have access to this area to hunt anymore, that you're obviously pretty familiar with now, and you've got maps and you've set up and formatted these drives, if you had to go to a whole brand new area, you know, we touched on this a little bit, but how would you strategically do that?
Occasionally we do. Every now and then, you know, like we've had people that come up to us, hey, you want to go drive our area with us? And it's like we've already driven everything, and we go do it.
Yep.
So we just go and we look at it, and look at it from the same standpoint. Where would the deer be bedded? What's wet, and where does nobody go?
Yeah, what's nasty?
Yeah, you know, a lot of the best spots again are by the road. You know, nobody hunts by the road, and those little pockets by the road are so easy to do quick.
There's one spot too where we'll set the guys up on the mainland and it's dry over there, but then there's a road and there's a little spot where you can't even take a firearm over there because there's a house not far away and the road is so close.
Well, you can, but it wouldn't be ethical to shoot over there.
But I mean, I've walked through there just myself and driven deer across the road to you
I
guys.
shot one over there on a drive one time at that same spot, and I had to wait for it to get through the parking lot before I could legally shoot it.
Yeah, or make sure a car doesn't crash into
That's how
the
close a
road.
lot of them things are bedding right next to the road, where
Yeah.
people think they're really far back.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
It does feel weird though when you watch it run through the park and the picnic tables. It's a little odd, but
So there was a lot of logging that was done in some of those areas this year. How do you think that's gonna change?
I think it'll make
patterns
it
and
better. It'll make
topographies as
less hunters out there because it's gonna be so thick they can't hunt out there.
Yeah.
It's gonna put more food out there, so it's gonna put more deer in that area because of the browse. A lot of people think you gotta have crops. There's already crops in that section of public, but that browse, deer love that browse too. And I think that's gonna put more deer in that area, and I think it's overall gonna help.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna put bedding up on those hills.
No.
If it does, it's just gonna be young stuff. The big stuff is always gonna be on those cattails.
Every year it's the same. It's the same. There's always deer in the same spots we go to every year. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like it hasn't changed since, you know, I've been doing it. I know
No.
when you go to a spot, we're walking in, I'm always like, okay, in a few minutes, we're gonna be jumping, you know where.
You can almost say, well, okay, this tribe's gonna have 3 does on it. Who wants
Yeah.
to shoot a doe? This one's gonna have the buck. Whose turn is it to shoot a buck?
Yep.
You can almost do that. I mean, it's the same drives.
We put those kids at the end of that one. We knew does were gonna be in there every year. There's does on that little island, we push them off.
I remember you coming up to me saying, hey, these young guys have been pushing for us this whole time. How about putting the one guy on there so he gets a shot? Put him in the doe spot. Okay. And then what did he get? 3 of them?
Yeah, 3 of
Yeah.
them. I mean, there's terrain features that you can see and use, and there are a lot of places, I've seen them other places. I mean, driving down roads in cars, I'm always, you know, my girlfriend's looking at stuff on the side of the road, and I'm always like, there's probably a buck over there,
Yeah.
you know, you see like a.
And you know
a
what?
hundred
Yep.
cattails.
Nobody thinks like that until they've done this.
Right.
Once you're in there and you see this and you see how amazing it is, the the bedding and the trails and stuff, until you start to realize, holy crap! And every time you see this stuff out there, you're like, right there. Yeah.
Yeah, or you look at a picture on a map of up above with deer trails through cattails and points, and you're like, man, you set up right there, that's a good spot for a drive. You know,
Yeah.
it's-
yeah, I can relate to that. I think I find myself doing that a lot. As you're driving along the interstate.
We all need help.
Yep.
And yeah, I've even found myself like looking up. Okay, well, is that private property? Is that
I got
public?
Onyx maps on my
Yeah.
phone. I'm
Ain't
always
that
like,
great?
how close am I to public here? Yeah.
Didn't I show you
Yeah,
that
I
last
got it
year?
right here. Yep.
I gotta actually pay for it now, that free trial right now.
So what do you guys say to maybe the naysayers or people who might say, well, it's public land, you guys are hunting pretty aggressive. Is it, should you be going in there into these deer bedding areas? Is that the ethical way to do it? You're disrupting other hunters. I mean, kind of what do you?
Well, I don't think we're really disrupting other hunters. There's been several times when we didn't drive something because there's somebody in there hunting.
Right.
But most of the time, the places where we're going, there aren't hunters. And if there are, they're on the outskirts. They're not where we're driving. And the only way they're really even going to see a deer is if we push it up.
Right.
Those deer aren't even moving where they're going to be. So they're actually having better luck because of us.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is, and I don't think we touched on this, now we've got some access to private land. And I get hell from this every now and then when I post about doing drives on public land. They're like, well, how come you're out there pushing on public when you got private and stuff? Well, if we go push to private, I mean, we kill our properties. But we got miles and miles of this public that's really untouched. I mean, there's less people hunting that public in these marshes where it's wet than there is on any private anywhere around us. And like on Dave's land, I mean, we had a real nice 8-pointer that we wanted to let go. And I thought he might be bedded near where I was going to set up, so I put Dave on the hill and I said, well, something might come out of here. And that one jumps up and we didn't shoot it. I didn't shoot it and Dave didn't shoot it. And that was a real nice 8-pointer. We're thinking one more year, this thing's going to be huge. It runs over the hill, boom, 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 it's dead. So we don't want to kill that property. And if we wait till later in the week and we don't even hunt it and let all the pressure go around his private property on the other private lands, towards the middle of the week or the end of the week, we have really good sits on that property. But if we drive that land, we kill all those young deer when they run off. So I'd rather be hunting the public land, doing these drives and stuff. And we want to take meat. We want meat for the year. I'm usually hunting big bucks. So it's a nice time to take your 1 or 2 does, and you got all the guys there to help you and everything else. It's fun. Do we run into people that get a little ticked off? Yeah, every now and then. But those people are misguided and misunderstanding what's going on. And they're set up incorrectly. And they could do what we're doing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing, and we are effectively killing deer. And like I said earlier, you can look, the whole hardwoods is orange. It's like a pumpkin field. And you think, how does a guy in the middle of that even have a chance? And then we don't hear gunshots, not even opening morning, until we walk into that swamp. When we start kicking them out, That's why those guys are killing deer, is because we go in there.
And we've had numerous times where we've gone in and told people, we've said, hey, you know, we're gonna push this, you know, stay up here and pay attention, you know, watch, deer might squirt out off the side over here.
Yep.
You know, pay attention, and, you know, and sometimes they'll stay, sometimes they won't, and sometimes they get deer. I mean, in that one property where the non-typical was, we pushed on the side and we heard someone shoot, you know, just over there. He wouldn't have seen a deer if we hadn't pushed that side.
And a lot more than the complaining, you get a lot more of the guys that see you driving and surround you. They go fill our spots, and it's like, well, we're gonna put a guy there, and all of a sudden they saw us getting ready, and they jump in and they take the spot.
You see us lining up and
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple times when we lined up and do a drive, and some guy goes by, sees you, comes running out of his car, goes in the back door and shoots your deer.
I see guys say, yeah, they put their guns away, and you see us coming, while they unload, they're falling on us.
Which is all right, I mean, it's public land,
public land.
but I just try to keep them from knowing what we're doing. We try to go a little sly, you know?
Well, that's back to the safety thing too, you always gotta.
Yeah, because you don't even know who these guys are.
You think you can shoot here, and all of a sudden there's a guy standing there, and you're like, where'd he come from?
Well, that's a good
You know.
point, is when you're on public land and you don't have control of where everyone is.
Exactly.
How excited
You
they're
have
gonna
to,
get.
right, you gotta be paying attention and
Many
watching.
times.
But you gotta remember, too,
You
when-
know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So just like,
That when we go out in those cattails, there's nobody out there.
Yeah, that,
Right.
No
We're the
way.
only
There's nobody out there.
right.
We're the only ones.
And we've told people in the parking lot, yeah, we're down in the cattails, and they're like,
What? Yeah, why?
No way,
Why
no,
are
they-
you down there?
There are people that'll see us do that or see us pull deer out and go, oh, I'm doing that.
They won't.
And they go back there, they can't see 2 feet, and they get wet to their waist, and they turn around. Because they can't assemble a group like we have that's dedicated enough to go do that.
What was that?
What are your hopes and expectations going into next year? For these drives?
Well, you know, it's come to a point where I can expect that we're probably gonna kill about 1 big buck between the group doing the drives. If we get more than that, great, but that's about what we expect between the group here. And I probably do a little better than that, but I push the whole week, and I try to get out on the, so a lot of times it's me, but I expect that in this group, somebody will get a big buck, and I think last year it was
Maybe-
Jeff.
What do you guys, what do you look forward to the most out of it?
I think, I like the fun of it, I think camaraderie.
just
I agree.
I think it's just a
Yeah.
blast getting together with the guys and going and doing this, and when you know everybody, you know how it goes, the anticipation about what's gonna happen on certain drives. You
Who's
get
gonna
to,
go through?
yeah, yeah.
But it's fun. I get anybody that shoots and gets one. You're right. If it's a doe or it's a big buck or a little buck, I'm just as happy as they've got it or fight it. It feels like if you shot it, you know what? Hey, we did it as a team. Everybody got it, and it was
Yeah.
a fun day, and it was an experience. We made memories, and
yep.
Yeah, and for me
and
it's
all of that.
for me it's getting together with everybody. I mean, let's face it, we don't see each other every day of the
No.
year, so it's good to get together.
That's
And
family.
for me, if,
Yeah.
if I get a big buck or somebody, it's just icing on the cake for the fun we have together as a group.
And it's good we get, I mean, every year there's been kids, you know, come along.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think your son's coming
He's
this year, right?
gonna
So
come for a day, and then
we'll have another
Blake was
person out there
coming.
and
So
My son's gonna,
Yeah, and that's
so
important
he's gonna come.
to bring the kids along.
and it's fun to see them out there, and, you know, they don't do the wettest, hardest push sometimes, but they still get to get out there and
Right.
experience it and get into it and see what it's like. I
We put
mean,
Blake through a
Blake
pretty hard
went
one.
through
didn't
some
he?
pretty hard
Yeah,
stuff.
he
I was
worked
pretty
hard,
impressed
Wes.
with Blake.
After that, he really didn't want to do it no more, but he
I
went
mean,
through the hard one. I was
He
impressed
did,
with that.
He did good.
And then,
He
especially
didn't
after he
quit.
said, I was like, you want to go, you gonna come back next year? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too, is that we really got a diverse group of guys. I mean, I'm after something really big or a doe. You know, I want to get like 1 doe gun hunting and a big buck. And I think we got guys that would shoot any deer they saw. And we got guys that are looking for an okay buck or better, you know, and it's a diverse group and nobody gets mad about it or anything
No.
else. And that's the main thing. I mean, if anybody was out of hand, we just ended, you know. It's got to be a good group, and that's the hardest part about this thing, is getting and maintaining a good group of guys. Me and Dave have been doing this way longer than the rest of this group, and that's been the hardest thing, is we knew where those bucks were, and getting people to work with us to do that we could trust, and weren't complaining, whining, or crying
Well,
all the time.
I think you gotta be selfless.
Well,
when
just
you
to
go
do
and
it right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Guys,
I agree.
You couldn't motivate yourself to go through that marsh unless you really want your friends and buddies to succeed. You can't. Everybody in here has to be selfless. Because you'd never go in that swamp unless you wanted your buddies to succeed.
Everybody in here is busting their ass at some point, not just sitting, you know.
And it doesn't matter what you shoot, we're gonna make fun of you when you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big it is or
Tough
small,
love.
we're gonna give you a hard time about it.
But that's what we're in it for, is the stories and the
Yeah, the stories
experience, you know?
Yeah, I think
If you shoot and miss, that's part of the story.
right.
That's
You're
deer
gonna
man.
get an adventure either way.
Driving deer, you're gonna miss.
I think
Well,
my
I
favorite
think-
one to push is that one where me and you usually end up pushing where Jamie got that big one the one year. And I'm always ending up in the thick as shit where I'm bleeding afterwards, but I don't know, that one's a fun push for some reason.
Yeah, I remember that spot. That's
There's
right
always
where the
action,
kill
action.
tree is. It's like the thickest, gnarliest.
One thing different about this group too, when I first came to Wisconsin, is that, you know, we're joking around, but we're serious. I mean, there's no drinking on these drives,
Nope,
no alcohol,
none.
none of us drink at all, we're not hungover when we come in to
No.
hunt, you know. You can't be hungover
No.
to
No.
do these drives in the morning. I mean, you are, you know,
Yeah.
it's tough work, and you know, and people, we joke about it, but we are serious, and we go out there, we get in our spots, we do our pushes, we get a deer, we joke around, but at the same time, you know, it's serious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like we almost enjoy it's like a badge of honor to say, yeah, I did this many drives, I put in that many miles,
Yeah.
Well,
And I think going back to the trust thing too, it's huge. I mean, not only from a safety standpoint, because I trust each and every one of you implicitly. I know I'm going to come out, and it's not going to be any one of your fault that something happened. But I've got friends who follow Dan, and they're like, "Oh man, he must have shown you some really good spots." I'm like, "Yeah, I know some really good spots."
yeah.
And they were like, "Do you hunt it?" And I said, "No," and I wouldn't. And unless I asked them specifically, I would never ever do that to any one of you guys. They're sacred, for another lack of a better term, and the trust that's hard to find amongst guys, because I know guys who would not hesitate to
Oh yeah.
jump in on a
right?
couple of
And
the
that's why we're
spots.
careful about who we allow in.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. I mean, hopefully everyone who tunes in and watches this learned potentially how they can replicate this or do this in areas where they hunt. I think in general, you know, you have to get a core group of guys that you trust, are willing to put the work in, and realize that you're probably going to go through people to find that group. It's not going to be something that's instantaneously going to happen. But it, you know, a lot of the beast style hunters, I mean, it's no different when you're bow hunting or you're asking someone to go out into a swamp when it's hot and sticky, and then you got a person you trust to help drag your deer out. So it's that type of group of guys. And then, you know, working on your plan. I mean, we all have the advantage that Dan's hunted this area for decades, and he's got these plans in place which help out a lot. And then learning that over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in a group like this can help you be successful. So, you know, going out year one, maybe you won't have the success you want setting up these plans, but keep at it.
You get more intel every year you do it too.
Yeah. But it is very interesting how these mature deer find their way back to these same secure areas year after year after year. Because there's a reason why those big bucks
Are there?
like those same spots. The features and the topography of it, and they'll go back there year after year. But the big thing is have fun and remember why we do this. I mean, the fact that you guys can all sit here and tell stories, and every single one of you cracked a smile on your face or starts giggling underneath your breath because you're remembering a story, is probably the true gem out of all this that you get to share.
You say that too, and you really come someplace as a hunter when you get beyond that whole ego crap. And every one of us, when you're dealing with high speed deer or long distance stuff, have shot in a small one or something on accident here or there, and we can rib each other about it. Where you talk to other people, and every group has that happen.
Yeah.
But they just won't admit it. Last year was my turn, and we can't get through this without me telling this story. So last year, in between drives, I went and sat on an island, and I saw this deer way away. I mean, how far do you think that was, Chris? You saw the trees.
It was 250 or more yards.
Yeah, I
from
would
there,
say
think.
300.
It was
300 yards.
far. It was far.
So I see
How big
movement.
was it?
We'll get to that.
So I see movement on this little, where there's a dike, there's like a mud pile where back in the 50s they made this,
berm.
yeah, berm.
Yeah.
So I see movement on there and I'm not sure if it's a deer or not. So I took my gun and I turned the crosshairs up all the way and I'm looking and I can see it's a deer.
I used to train.
And then it turns, it looked like it had a good main beam. I could see main beam past its nose. So I'm thinking, well, that's a shooter. So I put the crosshairs at the top of the back, and I shoot. So the thing kind of bucks, and it runs, but it was a long shot, and it just disappears, but it's all cattails. So I go over there, and I can't get through this drainage ditch that's over my head. I'm trying, but I can't get through it. So I got up to about my armpits and decided to turn around. And then there's no way to get around this thing. So I start mapping it out. And where this deer is almost inaccessible. So there's only one guy in this group that I think is tough enough to get back there. And sure ain't Jeff. You're giggling over there. So I call Chris up. And we make this plan. We're going to make it out there no matter what in the morning.
I called in sick to work, but I don't work there anymore, so it doesn't matter.
And that's the thing, too. I mean, who else can you count on to do this when you tell them, this thing's back 3 or 4 miles, and we're gonna have to go through some pretty nasty stuff, and I don't even know if we can make it back there alive. We're gonna try.
Only Chris.
So
I'm the only one dumb enough.
we go out there, and we made it out there, but that was quite the hike, wasn't it?
Half my clothes were like spread out on the way there because I took my coat off.
We're losing stuff on the way.
Like on the way in because it was warm.
So I was hunting right over there in those trees, and it was along this dike, but around the corner there. When I shot, it looked like he might have been working scrapes or something. I didn't have much time, so I didn't even turn the camera on, but it was an hour before dark. I actually got back to the truck at dark because I left after that. I went and checked to see if I could see it across that dike, but there's no getting close to it. So what do you think about walking back here?
This is a haul back here. I had to leave my coat off over there. It was too hot.
How many people you think get back here?
None. Not since the Indians, I don't think.
It's pretty crazy back here. Yeah.
That's a long walk.
Yeah, we went through this whole dike system back here, and you got to cross bodies of water and everything. It's really nasty. We're probably a mile and a half from the truck, maybe even 2.
I bet. I'd say too easy. The way we walked too, we didn't walk straight. You have to cut through everything. It's at least 2 miles.
The good point is we're almost there now. And I think it's about a 50-50 chance I missed him.
Yeah. Hope not.
But he acted like he was hit, which has got me excited. I just don't know how the hell we're going to get him out of here. We might be able to get him to here, and then maybe we can get a duck hunter or take the canoe down the river where there's no ice, because the pond's full of ice.
Yeah.
But I think we need to take it out with a boat, don't you?
Yeah. There's no way we're getting back to there.
All right. Maybe we'll get lucky and I didn't hit it.
So then we get to where I shot, and there's no blood or nothing, and we're like, oh, I don't know. And we start sneaking up, and Chris says, I see something. And then I think you said, it looks like a good buck.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I think I see him. I think we got him. That's about where I lost sight of him.
I see a white patch behind those small trees right there.
You weren't kidding when you said you smelled something, did you?
Yeah, I can see him from here.
You see the rack sticking out. That ain't a good sign. It's like a big body, isn't it?
Yeah, it's big. I see his rack.
Oh damn, it's not near as big as I thought he was.
No?
Oh, that's tough. He's a dead deer anyways. No, he's a lot smaller than I thought. Awfully small rack for a 2-year-old. That's a big body, ain't it? It's a big deer.
I just passed one twice this size. Maybe even 3 times bigger yesterday. Is what it is though. You're right, now I can smell it.
Yeah.
When we were about 100 yards downwind, Chris said he could smell it. Well, that's that. Now we gotta figure out how to get it out of here.
Yeah, that's the part.
Yeah.
I creep up, and here that buck was like this. I don't know what I saw from that tree, but I shot a little rat. I mean, it was probably a 2.5-year-old, but it was a small 2.5-year-old.
It's a 16-inch class.
Yeah, it was small. And then we're sitting there with this little dink buck, burned my tag, and we're back 3+ miles on this dike, which is and I'm like, whoa, this is gonna take all day to drag this out. And Chris is like, we are not dragging this out of here. He says, we're getting this field dressed, we're getting it to the next canal over, and he goes, and I'll take the canoe back here and get it for you. And I'm like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. So we hike all the way back out of there, and we go back around, and I see these guys were duck hunting back there, and it's kind of frozen. You couldn't even get the canoe back there is what we're starting to figure out because there's ice. But these duck hunters had boats that could bust through there.
Yeah, with those mud motors on them.
Sure.
So we kind of timed it till they were coming out and went over and we're like, hey guys, we got a buck that's dead way back there. And those guys were cool guys. They said, really? Jump in. I mean, just that easy. They unloaded all their stuff back out of the boat to make room for us. And when we tried to give them something, they wouldn't take nothing. But they drove us all the way out there in that swamp boat, almost up to that deer. And we
And
got it out.
not only did they go to do that, but when we told them we were going to go out there and get it, they agreed to take us. And then when we got there, we were like, oh, the deer's right on the edge. He goes, oh, you know where it is? They were going to drive us out there and help us find this deer
Right.
and drag it out. They didn't know we had it all the way to the edge of the water.
Right.
And they had like 250 decoys. They had a pile of stuff in the parking lot. They had a couple on. All the guys were sitting on chairs around it while.
Yeah, they had to sit there and wait for us, yep. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we didn't know who, I mean,
Yeah.
never met them before, you know?
Good people.
Yeah.
Now, to Dan's defense a little, because I last year that was a buck of perseverance, because most people, if you think about the bow season you had going up to that, I mean there was a lot of good opportunities, some missed opportunities, but a lot of hard hunting, and I think, you know, now you have a story of perseverance, story of, you know, camaraderie with other hunters that you ran into out there, and that's, again, what it's about.
You know, I shoot a lot of big bucks, and people know me for that, but that ain't what it's all about. It's about going out and having fun and having these stories and stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, you know, brag it up or lie about what happened or anything. It's just, that's what happened, and it is what it is.
You know what I think we're gonna do? We're gonna all take up a collection here, and we're gonna buy an extra cape and mount it so we can put it on the wall.
We already fed the antlers to Jeff's dog.
Yeah.
Jeff, didn't you use those for your dog?
They're still sitting in my garage to train them with.
Oh,
Don't say they're still around.
see,
You
we
feed them to
can
your
do it.
dog.
He doesn't feed them.
That'll be our.
He's full grown
gift
now, so
back.
they look even smaller.
Nice.
Made a memory.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yep.
All right. Well, anything else you guys want to cover?
Thanks for letting me come along, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I look
We were-
forward to it, man.
We almost didn't.
We haven't all seen each other together since last deer season. We won't
Right.
probably see each other again until deer season now. That's it, you know?
Right.
Once a year, unless we have a get together in the summer by you, there's
Right.
really, that's it.
Was it last year you had a peace gathering? Or was it the year before?
Yeah, we still might have one this year. I'm trying to put one together.
All right.
You do a wrap up or anything?
I kind of did when you
Okay.
guys started talking.
Yeah.